chest and delts. I'm going to walk you through the entire workout, what it looks like right now. Keep in mind, this is my third training block of this bulk. I'm 6 months in, and it's very similar to the first training block that I had, which if you're not sure what that is, you can check out the video that tells you how I'm starting my whole bulk. I break down, it's more of like a bro split. So it basically works like chest and delts day 1, then it's calves and back day 2, which I'll be bringing a full workout breakdown of that soon as well. Then it's a rest day. Then it's a full-blown arm day. Biceps, triceps, forearms, and abs at the end as well, if I feel like it. Then after that, it's legs, and then it's another rest day. And then we repeat on day 7. So it is essentially a 6-day split. Very close to being a bro split. You could basically call it a bro split. So lower frequency, volume is moderate. So let's walk through day 1, which is chest and delts. And I'll also bring a video explaining to you my methodology behind choosing and iterating on each training block as I've been going through this bulk, because my second training block was actually completely different, much higher volume and frequency. So I'll go ahead and bring a video to explain you that if you want to see it. What I'm going to do is show you to start the warm-up. So I figured I might as well include a warm-up here. I get a lot of questions on warm-ups. And basically, I'll be putting all these clips on the screen. Some of them are vertical for, short form content, TikTok, etc. So just keep that in mind. Now, here I start the warm up off with, I've got these resistance bands myself. I bring these in my backpack. I've got different resistance profiles, right? I've got the heavier, the lighter, whatever. I just go with the heaviest one here, and I'm doing external rotation just to kind of warm up the rotator cuffs as much as I can. So I'm doing each side, of course. I'm doing about 10 to 15 reps. It depends on how cold I'm feeling, how cold it is outside, etc. Then I'm doing some tricep kickbacks, okay? Just again, warming up the joints, what I'm using. Buddy comes over to talk to me, and I'm doing both sides there. And it's just one set of everything here as well. And then I'm doing these supraspinatus rather. I don't know how you would actually call the exercise itself, but this is primarily to target the supraspinatus, which is the probably, you could argue the most important rotator cuff. It's kind of stupid to say that, but it's going to be the one that typically most people have a problem with when pressing. So I do this, I warm up. I've had shoulder issues in the past, obviously, as probably everybody has, from absolutely cranking a lot of push workouts, probably overdoing it, not the best technique. So I have been able to prevent any sort of shoulder issues by warming up this way. Now, as you can see, I'm also doing some chest warming up itself. So sort of like a fly. Again, obviously not crazy resistance here, just really getting the joints warmed up as much as I can. So I got my triceps, my rotator cuffs. Sometimes I do some rows. I didn't do that here. Sometimes I'll warm up the lats a little bit as well. And that's basically it. I'll do some arm circles, okay? Just get some range of motion going, get the body prepared. And now to actually acclimate and prepare the nervous system, I acclimate in weight as appropriately as what I feel. This is very auto-regulatory. I don't have a very specific, I must hit this weight and then that weight for X amount of reps. It's really just going off feel. I know that my top set in this particular workout, I hit 85 by 8 reps or 9 reps the previous workout for like an RIR 1 or 2. So I know this time I'm going to go for 90s. See how many I can get. My rep range that I'm aiming for is 6 to 10. So I'm almost certain I can get 90s within that rep range. So what I do is I select a light weight here. I started with 40s. I do, 5-ish reps. Then I move on to, about a 20-pound jump. I'm basically just trying to acclimate but avoid any fatigue whatsoever. So here I believe I've got like the 60s or the 65s. And I'm doing whatever this is, about 3 reps. The next one I'm doing, I believe these are 80s. So I'm just 10 pounds away from my top set. So you got to be careful here because this is getting relatively heavy compared to the top set. So you definitely don't want to get anywhere close to generating any fatigue, but you definitely want to get your body used to lifting the weight. So 2 reps, that's probably it. Okay, 3 reps. As you can see, there was no velocity loss whatsoever on the reps. So I was very far from failure there. And now we go into the first top set, which again, my goal here was 90s, okay? And I was just trying to get as many as I could, hoping that I land within 6 to 10, almost certain that I would. So here's what it's looking like, okay? Obviously form, you can see from this angle just how consistent the form is. the elbows are tucked. That for me allows me to emphasize my chest a lot more, take my shoulders out of it as much as possible. I used to, if you look back on the channel, do a lot of pressing with my arms, even incline pressing, any sort of dumbbell pressing, all of this with my arms very flared out. You'll notice keeping the eccentric controlled. I'm not sure if I squeeze out one more here. Yeah, so that, as you can see, clearly that's an RIR 0. And I believe I got 6 or 7 there. I would probably have to count that footage. Nonetheless, that's a good top set. From there, I did 2 more sets after that. So it's 3 sets total. Incline dumbbell press is the movement I'm starting with currently at this gym. I actually have alternating. So week 1 and week 2, or rather microcycle 1, microcycle 2, they are at different gyms each time, just for the sake of variety and enjoyment as a result. So this push workout is going down at Powerhouse Gym, which is one of my 2 gyms. The other one goes down at Sky Fitness. So typically that means that I have different exercises for the entire training session, depending on the gym that I'm at. However, for this training block, I've decided to step away from machines for my first chest exercise because I was actually using chest machines to start my chest workouts for the entirety of the last training block. So I wanted to go back to an incline dumbbell press because it was really feeling good for me over the course of this bulk so far. So I decided to focus on that and try to load the incline dumbbell press. So I'm actually starting with the incline dumbbell press on both chest workouts, 3 sets, 6 to 10 reps. And basically this last set here, I finish off with 85s. So the first set was 90, and then I dropped to 85s for the next 2 sets. And that way I can stay within the rep range I need to, within the RIR that I need to, which to be honest was about an RIR of 1 or 0 on each set. Okay. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next, which is now a machine. Okay. It's this flat chest press Life Fitness machine, which if you happen to have it at your gym, I do think a lot of gyms actually have this one from what I've seen. And it's really good. I like the narrow grip. Okay. Obviously the wide grip can work well also, but for me, it really depends on leverages. You have to understand how your body works. What I made the mistake of doing was watching how somebody else, typically a pro bodybuilder, let's say, who had completely different leverages than my body, obviously, and they would perform an exercise a certain way. So I thought I need to perform it that way to look like that. I know it sounds very dumb in retrospect, but funny enough, most people still do this. You start to eventually realize that you need to perform it in a way that actually works best for you and your leverage. How do you know if that's the case? It's going to take some time and experience, like it has been for me. I've been doing this a long time. I know that I feel my chest more. I take my shoulders and even my triceps out of it when I'm pressing from a certain angle. Flared out works really well for some people, but it doesn't work for me. My arms are just too long. My rib cage isn't wide enough. My clavicles aren't wide enough. I lose the leverage. Okay, I'm not able to load it properly to the point where my shoulders start getting in the way, my triceps start getting hit, but I'm aiming for the chest. My chest is relatively sore after these training sessions, so soreness is not an indication of muscle growth and an amazing workout, but it's definitely an indication that the muscle group that I was trying to target is indeed being targeted. Now, after 2 sets of that machine press between 5 and 12 reps, I move on to cable flies. Okay, this is like a mid-range cable fly, and I'm trying to turn it as much sort of into a press as you will, or a press around. So keeping the arms closer to my sides, bending the arms, because again, I find that, and I see people do this and I don't understand how it works for them, but if it works, it works. Flaring the elbows a lot on a fly movement just involves the biceps way too much from my experience. So it really starts taking the emphasis off the chest. So what I do is I bend the elbows a lot, and then I'm sort of doing like a press around on these flies, okay? It's only 2 sets here, and it's going to be higher reps. So 8 to 12 to 8 to 15 reps, rather. Now, RIR, I'm probably a little further from what it seemed there, but typically for the most part, again, I'm staying within about 1 RIR. Like, I could keep going. The thing with this movement is you can like start using some momentum and start breaking the form down without it looking like you're changing the form that much. So a true RIR 1 or 2 may not look it in many cases. Now, after that, chest is basically done. We've done 3 sets, 2 sets, and 2 sets. That's 7 total sets, which I would consider high volume for a single session. But chest is my primary, priority. It's my top priority muscle group, and it basically has been for a very long time. I would say almost forever. So I'm giving it a little bit more volume than the other muscle groups. After chest is done, we're going to finish off delts here. I'm doing a cuffed cable lateral. This one feels really, really good. Going pretty heavy here, so 6 to 12 reps. But I believe I was finishing below 10 reps on these, but it feels really good. Aligning the cable, if you look at the cable itself, it's right at about hand height. So when my hand comes down naturally and across the body, that's where I'm aligning the cable. I would always really align it down further. I realize this feels way better on the medial delt, the part of the delt I'm actually trying to target. So these have been feeling great, and I'm doing 3 sets of these. Okay, as you see here, got the beater off. Now what I'm doing though is I'm doing 3 sets here, but I'm supersetting with the bent over dumbbell reverse fly. Okay, so rear delt fly, reverse fly, whatever you want to call it. And here I'm doing 3 sets as well because it's always supersetted with the side delt. Now when I'm supersetting, I'm taking a minute rest between the side delt and the rear delt. They are different muscles technically, like they have a slightly different function. Obviously, this doesn't really hit your side delt all that much at all. But nonetheless, obviously there's fatigue that was accumulated from the laterals that I want to help at least dissipate somewhat before I hit a slightly different muscle group anyways. So even when I'm antagonist supersetting, which is the only real way to superset without compromising results or motor unit recruitment, because fatigue gets in the way, the only way to really superset is antagonist supersetting. But even still, quote unquote, a superset probably makes sense to rest about a minute between the 2 exercises. So I'm doing 3 sets there. I go back to the laterals and I finish off 3 sets. Now, after the antagonist superset is done, I'm resting about 2.5 to 3 minutes before I start my laterals again. I do 1 set of the laterals, and then I'm resting about 1 minute, and then I'm doing the other side, and then I'm resting a minute again and finishing off with the rear delt fly in this case, okay? And to finish off the training session, just to get a little bit more delts, because I do recall my delts really growing the absolute most, and one of the congruencies of when it was growing the most was when I was doing some sort of overhead pressing. So I'm making it a point to include some sort of overhead press at least once every 2 microcycles, and in this case it's going to be this Atlantis shoulder press machine using the wide grip here. I was using the closer grip, but now I switched to the wide to also maybe hit a little side delts in the meantime, because why not? So I'm perfectly recovering from all this stuff so far. So I'm adding a slight bit of volume, see if it does anything for my progressive overload here. And it's been working decently well. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just 1 set, but it's a drop set. So you can see I pushed basically to 0 RIR, and then I'm stripping the plates off, and then I'm just gonna do 90 pounds here. So this was 140 for 6 to 10 until I hit 0 RIR. 1 set, that's it. But then just to squeeze in a little bit more volume, yes, it's going to generate a little more fatigue. Again, I've had no issues recovering from this. And for the sake of time, at this point, I'm kind of tapped out from the training session. I don't want to spend more time at the gym, so I'm like, you know what, let me just crank in 1 quick drop set. So I strip it down to 90, and I bang out as many as I can, which isn't all that much more than the first set, and that's basically it, okay? So that's the chest session. From there, I rest once again for about 6 days, okay? And then I hit it again on the 7th day at a different gym. So there's slight variation in the exercises that I'm choosing. But of course, I'm tracking all this in, making sure that I'm progressively overloading. I'm trying to keep some of the exercises similar or the same, not only across each microcycle, but at each gym. So that way I know what I hit last time and ensuring that I progressively overload that so I can continuously make progress in the gym. The bulk has been going well, as you already know, probably if you've seen my other videos. I've been gaining at an overall rate of 0.4 pounds per week since the beginning. Now I am going to slow it down because I'm almost at my target goal weight, which was, or my initial goal weight target, which is 210. Right now I'm at about 209.7 on a weekly average basis. So it's time for me to taper off slowly. Of course, some fat was gained around the midsection and the rest of my body for that matter, but a very minimal amount. Now I'm probably going to hang out somewhere around maintenance for the next few weeks and try to recomposition in that process. So once again, just focus on progressive overload, keep calories roughly the same, and maybe even bump cardio up or activity up slightly and see if I get into a small deficit and just push to overload in the gym as much as I can. And that way, hopefully, I'm looking a little bit better, a little bit tighter about 2 to 3 weeks from now. And I can see from there, maybe it's time to keep that bulk going at the rate that it's been going at so far. So that remains to be seen. But for now, everything's looking good. That's the chest and delt session. Next, I'm going to show you the calves and back session, and of course, the other 2 sessions. If you want to see the video as to my methodology as for how I'm determining what to do each training block, definitely leave a comment below. I'd be happy to make a video on that. And lastly, if you want to not only try out my own training blocks, the ones I've shown you so far on the channel, or any other sort of idealized training split with the optimized amount of volume, frequency, intensity, then I actually have all that available to my Modern Physique Hub members. If you want to check that out, there's going to be a link in the description for that as well. All right. Aside from that, I appreciate you for watching. Hope you found the video helpful, took some tips from it for your next chest or delt or both day. With that said, I'll see you in the next video. I'm out.